Hello, my name is Benjamin Willis.
As I've traveled and explored this amazing North American continent, my research has led to some astounding theories. Let me share with you some of the more unusual occurrences in Colorado. Most people would associate Bigfoot with the Pacific Northwest. But sightings in Colorado are actually quite common. They are so frequent, the Park Service installed a warning sign on the road to the summit of Pikes Peak. I have been on 2 different Bigfoot expeditions in Colorado, and even though we found some circumstantial evidence, I haven't been fortunate enough to encounter the legend. Compared to other states in the U.S., Colorado has an unusually high number of deaths from lightning strikes each year. Perhaps that is why Nikola Tesla chose to build his laboratory in Colorado Springs back in 1899. From this laboratory, the first wireless transmissions were sent. Where Tesla's laboratory once stood is now the intersection of Kiowa and Foote. Colorado actually has a medieval-style castle nestled in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. Built by one determined man beginning in the early 1970s, Jim Bishop is truly king of his castle. It is open to the public during the daylight hours, but navigate the stairwells very carefully. According to the National UFO Reporting Center, there seems to be a UFO highway across America that does pass through Colorado. Is it mere coincidence that the 37th parallel seems to follow this extraterrestrial freeway? Colorado's San Luis Valley, situated at 7,664 feet above sea level, is the world's largest alpine valley. Completely surrounded by mountains in all directions, this 8,000 square mile valley was quite isolated until until the modern era.
Well, something strange has been visiting a rancher in the San Luis Valley. He has had 4 calves mutilated in just the last month.
Cattle mutilations have plagued the San Luis Valley and the entire American Southwest since the late 1960s. But cattle aren't the only victims. The first documented animal mutilation was a horse in the San Luis Valley. There have been so many UFO sightings in the San Luis Valley that a gift shop and watchtower has been constructed. You never know who or what you may run into on your visit. It is definitely a unique stop on your trip. With all of the unusual sightings in the area, it has been theorized that perhaps a top-secret military base, similar to Area 51, is hidden somewhere in the San Luis Valley. In historic Victor, Colorado, is the haunted Victor Hotel. The 4th floor of this building was a hospital in the early 1900s, and due to the frozen ground during the winter months, they would store the dead until the spring thaw. A 3rd-floor resident named Eddie frequently rode this birdcage elevator, but late one evening he fell down the elevator shaft to his death, and now he's known to haunt the 3rd floor. Scenic mountain town of Estes Park has Colorado's most famous haunted attraction. The Stanley Hotel. Back in the 1970s, when Stephen King stayed in room 217, he had experiences that inspired him to write The Shining. So when Dumb and Dumber was being filmed here, Jim Carrey decided to stay in room 217. But he fled the room, refusing to return. To this day, Jim Carrey won't publicly speak about what transpired in the room. I spent 2 days at the Stanley, and even though I could sense a presence at times, I failed to capture anything on camera. The city of Denver is famous for being a mile high above sea level, but it does have a haunted history. Cheeseman Park and the adjoining neighborhood was once a Native American burial ground. early Colorado pioneers continued the tradition and used the land as a graveyard. In the late 1800s, as the city of Denver grew, this area was converted into a city park and residential neighborhood. But only a small percentage of the settlers' graves were moved, and none of the Native American graves were transferred. Park and the unfortunate residents of 13th Street live with the restless spirits of the dead. This haunted area inspired the 1980 horror film The Changeling and 1982's Poltergeist.
We are about 30 miles southeast of Denver, Colorado, at the infamous Third Bridge.
In the 1800s, a rancher and his family were brutally murdered by Native Americans very close to here, which eventually led to the historic Sand Creek Massacre. Since then, this bridge and the entire area have been a hotspot for paranormal activity. This has become a favorite place for teenagers to visit in the evening, which has led to a modern tragedy and a current haunting. In the 1990s, a 16-year-old girl and her friends were speeding down this road doing 70 miles per hour at 11 p.m. on a dark night. When she came over the hill, spotting the bridge, she slammed on the brakes, losing control on the loose gravel. The car plowed through the guardrail, and it impacted, killing one girl instantly. Now, apparitions of a teenage girl seen on the bridge are reported quite frequently. Hill warning sign as you approach the bridge. It will soon be followed by a narrow bridge warning sign. The county seems to have done all it can to try and remedy any dangers the area poses. But a dark energy seems to loom here. Ute Valley Park in Colorado Springs contains an ancient mystery.
It's two faces that appear to be carved in rock here at Ute Valley Park. Now you have to hike in a little ways to see them, but it's a pretty neat sight if you can actually find it. Now the archaeologist student that came out here took some pictures, and he said he'd like to just find out how old those face carvings are, if nothing else.
The rock face doesn't resemble Native American features. So, who could have carved this enigmatic face? We are at an Anasazi Pueblo. This one is just outside of Dolores, Colorado. Fascinating. Now that's just a small example of the wonders that Colorado has to offer. I encourage you to get out and explore your own state, and perhaps we will meet on a future episode of